All right, guys, so we have number 2, 3x squared plus 15x is equal to 0. We have to solve this quadratic equation by factoring. So we're going to go ahead and do our first step, which is set it equal to 0. It has already been set equal to 0 for us, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our second step. We want to go ahead and find those values of a, b, and c. We have our a value is the coefficient 3. Our b value is our coefficient of 15. And we can see that we don't have a c value, so we can just go ahead and set it equal to 0. We know that c is going to be equal to 0. The next step, we can notice that our coefficient is greater than 1. The coefficient in front of x squared is greater than 1, so this is going to look a little bit differently. And because of our c is equal to 0, we don't have a c value, we're going to go ahead and set this up with 1 parentheses equal to 0. We want to factor something out from these two terms in order to simplify it. So we have to factor something out that's going to go outside of a parentheses. What number can we factor out to make this more simple? So we know that we can factor out a 3 from 3x squared, and we can factor out a 3 from 15x, and it'll just give us 5, right? No. We know that we can factor out a 3. We can factor out a 3 from 3x squared, and we can factor out a 3 from 15x. But there's something else that we can factor out. We can factor out an x, right? And we can factor out an x in here too. So that is going to leave us with 3x on the outside, 1x on the inside, because we factor out 3x, we're left with only 1x. And if we factor out a 3x from 15x, we're just left with positive 5. We're going to go ahead and double check our work to make sure that we're factoring correctly. And to do this, we're going to distribute. We're going to distribute that 3x times x, which gives us 3x squared. And we're going to distribute that 3x with our 5. So 3x times 5 is positive 15x. This looks exactly the same as this, so that means we are factoring correctly. I'm going to go ahead and erase this so we have room. And the next step is to set both terms equal to 0. We got to set all of this equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and separate it so I don't get myself confused, and I'm going to rewrite it as 3x is equal to 0, x plus 5 is equal to 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. We want these all by itself. We want to isolate that x. So in order to do so, I have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other side. 3 divided by 3 gives us 1, so we're left with x is equal to 0 divided by 3 is 0. And we're going to go ahead and do the other side. We are going to subtract 5 to both sides in order to isolate our x. 5 minus 5 gives me 0, so I'm just left with x is equal to 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So we have our two values of x now. We're going to go ahead and put it in the right form, which is x is equal to that curly bracket. Don't forget that curly bracket. And I'm going to put it in order from least to greatest. So we have negative 5 least, and then we have our comma, our next x value, which is 0, and we're going to go ahead and close it with our curly bracket. So our zeros, our x-intercepts, are negative 5 and 0.